are these people?
People Everyday Grief. I have not actually heard this song, so
which is exciting. So people, this one came about and took some time, because I just noticed over the last couple of years, like noticing more people than ever crying in traffic or crying in their car in a parking lot, like just glancing around and catch eyes with someone, be like, oh, that person's having a breakdown, oh, that person's sobbing. Like a noticeable uptick in that in the last couple of years, which I totally get that. Sometimes it's me, but it struck me, and I wanted to kind of have a song that talked about that, and like it's not uplifting in the sense that it's not like a song about good things, but it's definitely a solidarity song. Definitely,
we're not alone. We're all dealing with this shit,
if nothing else, that's some small comfort and a lot of fuel. That you're not the only person that's being put through this ringer. We all are. And this was a song I previewed a snippet of the instrumental because I already loved the little guitar part that I had looped, and then I was like, what if I did a little solo? What if I did some little something? And it's got a whole lot of flavor that the rest of the album doesn't, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. So I did, and this is really one of my favorite songs on this album because it's such a good kind of breath of fresh air, cool down before we get into the second half. So yeah, this is People Everyday Grief.
People, you don't think I see you crying in your cars, but I do. Sometimes I can feel it at a red light, someone at my side trying to muddle through. See them wiping their eyes in their rear view, like black hole sun in the sky. Why the fuck won't you come when I need you? Well, this moment in time is as close as we'll be and as far as I'll meet you. Two windows in between us, new moon in the house of Venus. One stranger who sees you and reads your features knows that your alibi might be tight, but it's not quite leak-proof. So if you're sitting at the light and you're crying in your car, just know that I see you. And it's a 50-50 that I'm bloodshot, gun-shy, once bitten, twice tried, ribs pried wide to the sky till I'm see-through.
That's you, in case you don't recognize yourself.
You don't think I see you struggling to breathe, but I do. I see you stumble in your everyday grief like I do. I try, but I do. I'm twice bitten too. My mind's split in two. My knuckles bright white from the 10 to the 2. And the song in my head is the theme for a fugue, a state of decay through the filter of corporate news, where they edit the grays and the blues. They whitewash the brown till they drown out the natural hues. And then it's just another fact to refuse, that the corporate ladders for hanging the company noose. Consider it one of your perks, after all it's communal in use. So you can come and hang till your legs go limp and they're shaking you loose. Now you watch 5 co-workers opt for the alternate exit, neatly suspended above where you wolf down your food. And your company gets its incentives embellished by harping on wellness, suggesting you'd best take time for your mental health after your 14 hours are through. Like we gave you a bottle to piss in and fixed up a noose on the crossbeam. Christ, what more can we do? So if you struggle to breathe any moment that you aren't asleep, then remember, most of Americans fear for their savings, fear for their shelter, fear for their babies. You aren't the fringe of exception, but rather a perfect example of capital's rule. And you're far less alone than the ruling class tells you is true. You're far less alone than the ruling class tells you is true. I see you crying in your cars, but I do.
Yeah, I really love that song. I really love that song.
So people want to call that every morning grief? Is that what you're talking about? There you go.
I see what you did there.
You see
I
what I
see.
did there?
Okay. You gotta watch out for this guy.
You see that? I went ahead and did that. Yep. Yep.
Who are these people?
Okay, here we go.
Go. Depop, I'll mute.
All right, Depop.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days. I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make. God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, you saved. You save. I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days and still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, you were safe. You were safe. Fresh off the mess, the brand new cancerous growth who has come here to vie for your vote. Come here to cry at the camps and to mourn at the shore for the bodies that float. Then it's back to their luxury home, couple security booths and a moat. Couple cigars, little escargot, little booze and a soak. They just breathe in the steam and the smoke. They got pink salt, lavender, candles are low. Shit, when you do what you do, got a light in the load. And he got a life of his own. It's a sight to behold. Cause it's a lot to control, to decipher the code or to siphon the soul. See, the cost of a good night's sleep for the working elite is a bargain, no matter the toll. Worth any wager, and that comes straight from the mouth of the means to the goal that will swallow us whole. That's ripe for the picking if you don't mind mold, and you know I don't. Maybe we're pleasantly prone, maybe we're taking a licking, compliantly ticking and ticking and ticking, but never explode. See, I don't deliver the prettiest image, but damn if it isn't an accurate vision of a natural fission of rage at the system and abject heartbreak, patiently waiting for any who will listen. See, that little blue bird who was watching your words is a federal carrier pigeon. That's a Langley first. It's a patient observer who hears what it wants and is trained for the worst. So, you got nothing to hide? Well, they'll be the ones to decide that after they root for your purse, after they read all your texts, after they raid your apartment and confiscate all of its contents, conjure up evidence out of the air on a wing on a prayer and malicious intelligence nonsense. Any presumption of innocence long since gone, right along with your comforts and constants. See, historically, first they will come for the communists. So why in the fuck would I say I'm a communist? Well, it might be I love my community more than the monsters of opulence who are holding us hostage, who are vomiting promises. Might be I'm all done seeing our pensions and benefits harvested. Might be I'm all done watching the populace being disarmed in the guise of an armistice. Watching a woman collapse on the floor who will rise no more. She gets wheeled out the door and you're next in line for the pharmacist. Shit, if you can get me to vote, it's a hard no confidence. But part of the charm of deception is politics wearing the mask of incompetence. See, it's all in the art of austerity, darling. It's all in the art of the providence. Till home is as wide as your cubicle height and it's only as deep as your coffin is. Maybe I'm miles away from impatience, aching to break off the head of the snake where the capital lust, reptile brain in the margin of profit is. Like off with his. Guess this isn't such an awful place. Tell what you want me to say. You prove it's possible to sleep for days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, will you save?
That's a good choice, chat.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Well done.
Jesse Jett. Hip-hop culture.
Not without a hiccups. If anyone noticed, I missed a line in the very beginning because
Yeah.
I was
I
still
did.
trying to figure out, like, how do I do these chords backwards?
It messed you up a little
We
bit.
got it.
Yeah, you got a little
A little
flustered.
bit.
I was like, who caught it? Who caught it? That's all good.
Right.
That was good.
Remix.
Who are these people?
Hey, everybody. This is Jesse Jett. I am immensely proud to get to be a part of this. And I don't want to waste any of my time, so I'm going to get right into the songs. This is called The Dust of Better Days. This is a song about how far we've come into fascism and how important it is that we fight against it.
SWAT team took your neighbor today. Watch them as they walked him away. You told yourself extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. Is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Sheriff stopped your daughter today. Pepper sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he'd treat her that way. At least that's what they've taught you to say. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Feds arrived and had you detained. Said you'd made some posts they want changed. Tased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name, or life before they had you contained. Oh, life before before they had you contained. SWAT team took your neighbor today. And that is the dust of better days. This next piece applies to Julian as well as several other people that spoke very uncomfortable truths to power. And I think the inspiration is pretty self-explanatory and is yet another great example of why it's so important that we get Julian out, why his freedom is representative of all of our freedoms. This is called Half Dollar. I found a $50 in a dresser drawer. I spent the time I would have spent just staring at the floor, staring down at JFK, trying to imagine the immoral sort of irony that makes a nation feign commemoration of a man that it had murdered by the CIA. Trying to envision us if we possessed the healthcare he had talked about in '58. Now, I guess the takeaway is it's a piece of fucking cake to celebrate somebody's bravery once you've assured they're safely in the grave. And I bet if Pat Tillman were alive today, that he would say the same. And I'm sure we're in for more if they let Julian decay. I bet that they would put him on a quarter. I bet that they would name conference rooms in his honor at the IMF, the New York Times, the FBI, and Citibank. I guess the takeaway is it's a no-risk softball pitch to uplift somebody's image once their image is the one thing that remains. And the worst is when it's coming from a figurehead who's funding every agency that doctored the remains and working with the agency that authored the remains, the agency that obfuscates the facts and spins a constant storm of shifting blame. I guess the takeaway is that America will sing your praises loud as day to celebrate the fact you and the threat you posed have passed away. Shit, they'll throw you a parade, and business just as usual will live another day, and all of the insurance gods will bathe in all the praise and make donations rain. And all their winged, wicked little lobbyists will blow their horns and light the flames. The ceremony starts, and they in single column march up to the weathered onyx arch and sand the marker down that bears your name. So you no longer are and never were until your hideous rebirth within the corporate frame. Until you're back from the dead and then bound for all eternity in propaganda's chains. It's the very ritual that whittled down the legacy of Martin Luther King into a parable on unity for liberals to claim. And once they learned it worked, the world would never be the same. And now it's getting worse. I guess they're dialing in their aim. History is a straight line, but so is a moving train, which is heavily dependent on our infrastructure grade. We are building back better in a nation built on slaves. So you can guess the ultimate direction that a pathway to the future paves. They don't want you living, or they'd offer you a living wage. They don't want you feeding any homeless. It's just best to leave them freezing in the alleyway. They don't want you speaking words of hope unto the hopeless, or they'll do you up like JFK. I found a $50 in my dresser, and I spent the rest of my whole day depressed because this constant drop in pressure means that you can catch the bends from simply sitting up in bed awake. No, it looks like 2022 is really not the year for you to have your lives improved. I guess you'll have to wait. But not to fret. Election season's just around the bend. Why don't you go ahead and save the date? So you can throw yourself before the magistrate and beg to have your family saved. You don't know the people you elect to lead you more than what their ad portrays. You can't tell their offerings of saccharin and arsenic from ordinary aspartame. You can't really comprehend the kind of greed this country feeds upon until you're Jackie O wearing close to half a brain. And probably the half that would have seen us passing M4A. All to keep the pieces in their places in this never-ending profit game. All to weave a tapestry of ampersands, each allow a claim adjuster room to just dismiss you with a callous hand like fuck you and your meds. Fuck you for requesting a procedure that you need so you can stand. Fuck you and your family and your poor demands. So welcome to the land where we'll assassinate a man and then put him on a $50 stadium or stamp and proclaim ourselves the greatest country ever master planned. killing off its citizens, enriching all its brands. And that's $50. As it's probably evident, there is scant hope to be found in some of my lyrics. I wish the truth wasn't so bleak, but unfortunately, as Julian has warned us, that it is. That's where we are, and more than ever, that's why our truth tellers are so important. I'm happy to have at least one song with a message that I feel is a mobilizing, uplifting one, as much as I can muster. A song about how that helplessness, that feeling of powerlessness, at some point turns into the anger that you need, the motivation you need to do something, to have yourself be heard, no matter how it is. This song is called Powerless. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains and bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph R. Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait, straight until we're paralyzed, trying to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe had swore he'd close, but only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages made for 5 to occupy. And no, she hasn't seen the camps, but Harris swears they're paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. Then she throws her head back and she proceeds to laugh, that sort of heartless cackle you'd expect from someone working steadfastly on behalf of the virus and a Congress full of parasites. And where was I? Oh, I was busy cashing every blue check, demonstrating plainly all the narratives expected from the verified. I was busy breeding verbal leeches by the terabyte. Trained them to exsanguinate the wealthy while they sleep at night. Bleed the oil barons dry and barren. Say they showed us how to share and now we share alike. Tell them I contracted rabies from a feral mic. And now I'm just another species losing sleep to noise pollution and these glaring lights. I'm just forced to change my habits, adapt to just survive. But now it's safe to say that some of us are thriving in the moment, throwing shit on presidential homes beneath the Paris skies. So if you feel like you're just powerless, I guess you bought the lie. But I can tell they're petrified of our collective might, 'cause I can hear those gentrifiers weeping at the sight of our collective rights. And I only can imagine the intensifying fear of knowing revolution's near. And all that's left to do is simply wallow in the thick anticipation of a rabbit bite. And honey, one day you can ask your leaders just what that was like before you grab a slice. So if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. Honey, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards and tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, because you aren't. Because we aren't. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and make you build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards where they'll tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, because you aren't. Because we aren't. And that's powerless. My last piece tonight is fittingly a piece explicitly about Julian Assange. He has crept his way into dozens of my lyrics simply because his case affects everything. And that's what I found writing this piece, was even when I felt like I strayed off the topic. You can't stray off topic, because you're still, if there's something you want to talk about, your right to express it, your right to protest, your right to know what happened in the first place. It all hinges on this. You cannot overstate how far-reaching the implications of Julian's case are. With that in mind, this is called Conviction, Winter in Belmarsh. If you thought you saw your freedom, it was truly a mirage. Freedom's locked a cell away from Julian Assange. Our First Amendment rights are by his side behind bars, and the next voices silenced will be ours. Rest assured, democracy is rotting in the dark. Rest assured, we vilified dissenters, pushed out black renters, and tore down their housing just to build a little urban park. I tell you, old America really knows how to leave its mark, how to blaze a trail and leave 100 scars. Rip your free speech from out your throat, demonize the man who told you it was so, and leave him freezing in a cell in Belmarsh, perpetually awaiting extradition, thrown to the wolves of claustrophobia and malnutrition. And all that we can hope is that we catch Uncle Joe in a fleeting lucid moment of his flickering senile fascist mission. That maybe we could trick him into thinking Julian is just a sweet blonde middle school Christian, that she got mixed up with a few bad apples, slapped with some charges, and thrown into prison. Joe would set him free without a moment's hesitation under one condition, that he can sniff her hair before she goes back to school and he goes back to business. But if Joe's just had his shots, then we haven't got a chance of getting past his black and white vision, getting past his gut reaction to appease all of his donors' sick requests and shape policy and law around corporate mandated decisions. So really, all along, I think Julian was one man standing in a tempest with the fearlessness of true conviction. And if his is the only conviction we see after he shed a light on this country's most poisonous schemes all come to fruition, and we all collectively stare at the ground because we felt like our hands were too tied beyond signing petitions, while he is tortured to death for attempting to warn and enlighten admittedly not quite the brightest of citizens, and half of this country just won't take the time to uncover the truth, or they just don't mind, so they're quick to dismiss it and say it's a difficult position. Well, then we're back to the comfort of centrist delusion, right back to sleep for the ignorant sheep who resisted themselves into one protracted contusion, twisting themselves into knots to correct all your stimulus check-based confusion, wrapping their necks round their backs as they justify overflow migrant detention or fracking pollution. And then Kamala laughs, and the camera pans down to her shoes. And that footage is 90% of your 6 o'clock news, except for a feel-good story about a man who, at 95 years young, just made Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. And the $50 gift card means this month he'll afford his prescriptions and meals, and he won't have to choose. This is the machine that a man named Julian Assange threw his body on the gears of for you. So to cry out for his freedom is the least that we can do. Now, best believe the feds will serve to muddy up the truth, but rest assured the temperature in Belmarsh is an icy 22, and Julian is shivering in a solitary room without a view. Rest assured, Obama loves a whistleblower just about as much as he loves weddings where he doesn't get to detonate the groom. Rest assured, Obama bought the plot where all our First Amendment rights are gonna rot and demanded that they carve his smiling likeness on the tomb. So when you come to pay respects to your free speech rights, and a somber feeling hits you, and you look up to the sky, the answer will be staring you right in the eyes to the questions of why and of who. So if you thought you saw your freedom, then they wanted you to. Human rights are mutable, and Julian is proof. Our First Amendment rights are stuck in solitary too. And the next voice silent might be you. That is Conviction, Winter in Belmarsh. Once again, my name is Jett, and it's been a tremendous honor to get to perform for you tonight. Take care of each other, and above all, free Assange. Thank you.
Who are these people?
Marijuana, root beer, and we're off.
Now they make new movies in old black and white, with happy endings where nobody fights. So if you find yourself in that nostalgic rage, honey, jump right up and show your age. I wish I had a pencil-thin mustache, the Boston Blackie kind, a two-tone Radix-Carter jacket, and an autographed picture of Andy Devine. I remember being buck-toothed and skinny, writing fan letters to a Sky's niece Penny. But if I had a pencil-thin mustache, oh, well, I could solve some mysteries too. Oh, it's Bandstand Disneyland, you're going up fast, you're drinking on a fake ID. Yeah, and Rama of the Jungle was everyone's Bawana, but only jazz musicians were smoking marijuana. I wish I had a pencil-thin mustache, Lord, then I could solve some mysteries too. Oh yeah. Flat top, it's dirty Bobby cop in a field. You're grubbing on the living room floor. Yeah, they send you off to college, get a little knowledge, but all you want to do is learn how to score. Now I'm getting old, I don't wear underwear, I don't go to church, and I don't cut my hair. But I can go to movies and I see it all there, the way that it used to be here. That's why I wish I had a pencil-thin mustache, the Boston Blackie kind, a two-tone Radix-Carter jacket, and an autographed picture of Andy Devine. I could be anyone I wanted to be, maybe suave, ever flim, or the chic of ever be. If I only had a pencil-thin mustache, then I could do some cruising too. Grill cream, a little double do ya. I could do some cruising, I could do some cruising, I could do some cruising too.
Jimmy Buffett, folks.
Who are these people?
La, da, 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 la, da, 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 Last stand, and I came to deliver. Been called a Clinton operative, a Russian, and a grifter by libs awash in student debt and proud to be an intern sucking up to pigs who'll get a tax cut in the midterms. You cut the ties but never heal the wrist burns. Capitalist shackles wrap and penetrate like ringworms around the necks of those whose deaths will not affect the king's purse or the coffers of the company the king serves. Those who manufacture mandated tinctures, their safety data hanging from a fixture, half a mile skyward, dangling from the rafters. My grift is sobbing till I'm cackling with laughter. Guess I would have made a decent actor. I'd be great at crying on command until they cut plus 40 minutes after. When the director waves a hand, it ain't a rap, it's now a legal matter. Sugar, my grift is weeping on a mic until I'm hacking up airstrike verses till it's bombs away and batter up. Swinging on these bigots, they keep killing us to fatten up. Kill the switch, eat the rich, I think they're finally fat enough. Grab your knife and fork, the world is yours, just say you've had enough. And if you're comfy, you should go ahead and laugh it up. Now tell me how the most important vote I'll ever cast is like the choosing of a bus, in that it might not take you anywhere you want, but no one can deny the fact the bus is now no longer where it was, and that's the kind of progress we should celebrate and trust. Spoken like a kid that never took a bus. Spoken like a piece of shit that used some cash to mask their stink and truly thinks they're one of us. Spoken like a terminally unserious person who equates our cries for rights to mixed up orders from a server and paints a privileged picture of what they would label urgent if the worst thing they experienced in life has been the time the waiter accidentally brought a tray of gold flake scallop when you clearly ordered gold flake urchin. And now you're storming out the restaurant and hopping in a Tesla. You got 80 pounds of Tony Fauci merchant. Rewind, 2 chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. It's best to place your bets on weaponizing the identity of every limp progressive claiming grassroots integrity. Policy's a slippery slope for all of its complexity, so flex your brave resistance with this Ilhan Omar NFT. It's numbered 1 of 723. And each depicts her valiantly championing a bill before she lays it at a donor's feet. And she can throw her hands up in the air with AOC and say, if only Nina Turner could have voted present too, that's why we need another seat. We need some more progressives we elect to only tweet, who live to serve Humana and their label of elective slapped on every patient's gravest needs. While every station plays the theme that medical professionals agree on the effectiveness and safety of injections authorized for this emergency. And in purely unrelated news, the profits of the ones who manufacture vaccines just increased by nearly 36 billion with a fucking B. Sometimes it feels like we're the only ones that see. Sometimes it feels like all of us are lost at sea. And every time we think we see an island on the tip of the horizon, it turns out to be another measure making sure we're kept within the watchful eye of murderous authority. So no, I guess my grift is crying for the future they denied us, where the people who would buy us are a mockable minority. And we are more than genomes under warranty. And we are more than serfs in constant quarantine. If I had a single breath left, I'd let the chorus scream that I denounce our leaders, claiming none for all and more from me. None for all and more from me. None for all and more from me. Rewind, 2 chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. Rewind to the chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. And that's the grift.
Who are these people?
Now what you're following, that's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rain. Now what you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. And we say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flame. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire, and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities were melted down, communities leave vacant space. BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private. They don't discuss survivors. Concerns above construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity, next to Oprah and her camera crew who tour the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickled down your wheels. And Biden's come to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away. When home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fans the flames. The state will take Lahaina, they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already if you truly know our past, but this ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last, where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake? They still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake. They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, cause a fire comes for you. Desires made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do. And that's Kings of Colony.
Who are these people?
Let's do home.
They won't let you go, let you leave, send you home. Wait, please say you know what you need is what you owe. They won't let you go, set you free, or send you home. I was close enough to smell the fire. Jesus took the wheel and then he kicked me off the ride. I was busy shouting at myself from in the crowd, about to throw down and drag myself outside. I had to give myself the business. If I show myself forgiveness, it goes right between the eyes. I was busy looking past my shoulder, never focused on the prize. You see, I saw myself, turned and ran, stalked myself through burning sands the better part of 40 nights. I found myself staring in the mirror, yelling, go into the light. I was in the rear view, staring at the highway, horrified. Then I was in the road ahead, arms wide, ready to be mummified. I'm gonna be that fella yelling how he's sick of always betting on his life. I'll also be the guy that brought the dice. Half a dozen chambers and I keep an empty 5. Only needed one to break the ice. Only needed one to clear my mind. Only needed one to stop time. Only needed one to stop time. Oh, hey, please say you know what you need is what you own. And they won't let you go, set you free, send you home. I'll be the guy that brought the ice. And that is home. Watch your own.
That is a pretty song. I like that song. I'll be the guy who brought the dice.
Who are these people?
This is airplane mode.
She said, I can't leave my phone off till the world stops and it's on my phone. And I can't go in airplane mode cause they know when the flight takes off. And I thought I was born for the storm, but tonight I wish the rain would stop. I wish the rain would stop. like another day, but I can't say 'cause I can't stay long. I'm not here, but I'm not gone. She said it feels like another day, but I can't say 'cause I can't stay long. I'm not here, but I'm not gone. Oh, not here, but I'm not gone. I know I'm right, so I won't waste time to deny my doubt. And I just wanna know what's on your mind, but the Wi-Fi is out. And I thought I was bought for the storm, but I just need a break in the clouds. Just a break in the clouds. She said it feels like another day, but I can't say 'cause I can't stay long. I'm not here, but I'm not gone. She said it feels like another day, but I can't say 'cause I can't stay long. I'm not here, but I'm not gone. Not here, but I'm not gone. I think I'm the same as what I create. I gave it my name to speak for me. And when it wanted a face, I showed it my face as good as my face could look for me. I filter every smile, and I edit every day, just cutting a paste. Said it feels like another day, but I can't say 'cause I can't stay long. I'm not here, but I'm not gone. She said it feels like another day, but I can't say 'cause I can't stay long. I'm not here, but I'm not gone. Oh, not here, but I'm not gone. Oh, not here, but I'm not gone. And that is airplane mode.
Who are these people?
That sounds like Drive. Whatever tomorrow brings, I'll be there. It's close. Alright. Well, I say we just... Well...
Look, fat, I don't work for you. I'm not sorry that my policies don't work for you, and that sucks about your cough, but there's work to do. Gotta reopen the shop, gotta just push through. 2 jars of bleach, pick one, you lose. 2 jars of bleach, which one do you choose? When neither gives a shit about you, or shares your views, or cares if you can't pay for food. Get a firm grip on the straps of your boots. Get a good look at the last of the fruit. Get your good book, 'cause you can't buy booze. Honey, take heart, 'cause the dead don't bruise. So a bit about me. I don't believe in God, right? That said, I'll be praying on debate night. Joe can't speak right. You could call me petty, but I really want to see him bring a knife to a dogfight, or each mutt stuffed a blunderbuss up into its canines, where they could pull right up alongside Joe in broad goddamn daylight and maul his broadside. Cause Joe's gonna fold up the sails and stick the cannons all out the wrong side. And I'm not saying he and only he solely represent the wrong side. I'm saying both parties work to keep us hogtied. And we have been immobilized and fed upon steadily for such a long time that we're too weak to see that it could ever have been otherwise. Don't focus on our nominees' laundry list of rape accusals, focus on the other guys. Focus on the other side, focus on the Tiger King. Look, there's a firefly. What were you saying, Tara Reid? She's an actress, right? She was in a film called A Pattern of Unwanted Hugs and Touches from a Man That She Trusted, right? And in the end, when she finds out her boss was just another piece of shit, she felt betrayed and then disgusted, right? And he goes on to live his life, run for office, keep his wife, and nobody discussed it, right? Yeah, I've seen the film 100 times. I've seen the film 100 fucking times. There are 2 jars of bleach on a table. Pick either one and you lose. 2 jars of bleach on a table. Exercise your right to choose. There are 2 jars of bleach on a table. You pick either one and you lose. 2 jars of bleach on a table. Honey, exercise your right to choose. That's Look Fat.
Look fat.
Who are these people?
Video. Why not? Hey, thanks. How are you?
Here's a sound check with the Due Dissidence guys.
We've upstairs, the Grand Fusion.
Thank you.
Upstairs. Make it right.
With him.
Realistically handing people shit.
Without further ado, all the way from Michigan, musician, singer-songwriter, poet, and the co-host of the American Tradition Show on the Indie News Network, it's Jett.
All right. Well, I want to thank the guys from Due Dissidence for having me. This is a really fun and surreal opportunity to be a part of. It's always fun to play this kind of music for people that know what they're in for and what to expect. So I will keep my introductions brief so we can fit in as much into the set as possible. This is a song from my last album, which was called Live from the Blacksite. This is a song about really how far we've let fascism into our lives, a lot of us without even realizing it. This is called The Dust of Better Days. SWAT team took your neighbor today. Watch them as they walked him away. You told yourself extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. Is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust, better days, they're all
always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Sheriff's not your daughter today. Never sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he treated her that way. At least that's what they taught you to say. Is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days. They're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wait. It's arrived and had you detained. Said you'd made some posts they want changed. Chased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name, or life before they had you contained. Oh, life before they had you contained. SWAT team took your name out today. So, this next song, I would like to dedicate to Kit from Hard Lens Media. I've had a lot of people tell me that they heard this song because I've been playing it on air, and that just means the world. This is from a little EP called Everyone Who Disagrees With You Is an Extremist. This is called Depop Culture. I guess this isn't such an awful place. That's what you want me to say. You prove it's possible to sleep for days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? You were safe. I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, you were safe. Oh, you were safe. Fresh off the mess, the brand new cancerous growth, who has come here to vie for your vote. Come here to cry to the cancer, to mourn at the shore for the bodies that float by the wreck of an immigrant boat. Then it's back to their luxury home, couple security booths and a moat, couple cigars and less gargle, a little booze and a soap, and they just breathe in the steam and the smoke. They got pink salt lab and their candles are low. Well shit, when you do what you do, gotta lighten the load. And he got a life of his own, it's a sight to behold. It's a lot to control, to decipher the code, or to siphon the soul. See, the cost of a good night's sleep for the working elite is a bargain, no matter the toll. Worth any wager, and that comes straight from the mouth of the means to the goal. Will swallow us whole. It's right for the picking if you don't mind home, and you know I don't. Maybe we're pleasantly prone, maybe we're ticking or licking, compliantly ticking and ticking and ticking, but never explode. I don't deliver the prettiest image, but damn if it isn't an accurate vision, a natural fission of a rage in the system, an abject heartbreak patiently waiting for any who will listen. See, that little blue bird who's watching your words is a federal carrier pigeon. That's a lively first. It's a patient observer who hears what it wants and is trained for the worst. Oh, you got nothing to hide? They'll be the ones to decide that after they root through your purse, after they read all your texts, after they raid your apartment and confiscate all of its contents, conjure up evidence out of the air while a wing and a prayer and malicious intelligence nonsense. Any presumption of innocence long since gone, right along with your comforts and constants. Now historically, first it will come for the communists. So why in the fuck would I say I'm a communist? Well, it might be I love my community more than the monsters of opulence, who are holding us hostage, who are vomiting promises. Might be I'm all done watching our pensions and benefits harvested. It might be I'm all done watching the populace being disarmed in the guise of an armistice. Of watching a woman collapse on the floor who will rise no more, get wheeled out the door, and you're next in line for the pharmacist. Shit, if you could get me to vote, it's a hard no confidence. But part of the charm and deception is politics wearing the mask of incompetence. But it's all in the slight austerity, darling, it's all in the art of the providence. Till home is as wide as your cubicle height, and only as deep as your confidence. Now maybe I'm miles away from impatient, needing to break off the head of the snake where the capital lost, reptile brain and margin of profit is. Like off with his! Like off with his. I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? Prove it's possible to sleep through days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make. God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, you say. So, this is a spoken word piece inspired by one of my local radio stations. I was on my way to work one morning, and the Doja Cat song "Paint the Town Red" came on the radio. And they got to the part where she goes, "Ooh, she the devil," and they went, "Ooh, she the." I was like, "Hey, just edit out the word devil, right? There's no way." So I waited a minute. And we get around to the next chorus. So I'm like, no, the station didn't cut out. That's exactly what they did. They edited the word devil. And it made me unreasonably angry because I'd spent the last few months watching what we do here to our own citizens around the world. And sorry, the gall of us to do that just says so much about who we are, that we can commit some of the worst evil on the planet and still feign offense at a word like devil. And I wrote this song. Luckily, it was a slow day at work. I write everything on forklift anyway. This piece came out of it. This is called Better the Censored You Know.
Don't forget.
Radio station just censored the word devil. Clearly, we are on a different level. I guess you wouldn't notice all the rolling boulders crashing past your shoulders when you're taught to shift your focus lower, scream at all the pebbles. Cheering on the bombers because you can't abide the rebels. But I'll bet you'll bring your bloody hands when all this dust has settled, when the last little limb is pulled from Gaza's twisted metal. Then you can say how you were led astray, and never once in all your days would you have knowingly supported all this genocide for which you've clapped and prayed. But they baited you with unconfirmed blurbs about babies until you were filled with rage. And yet someone told you babies have been starving, bombed, and caged for nearly 80 years in Gaza, and you turned the other way. So regret, but make it fashion. Go and pluck that final petal off a hyacinth on Instagram for every kid they kettle. For every son that Israel imprisoned when they're little, that they tortured for a decade, then surprised with their acquittal. And when they got released and saw their parents and whatever siblings hadn't met the missiles, they stared right through their middle. Their eyes don't seem to focus, and their words are all but dribble, like they're pondering the darkest riddle. That is, how many false flags does it take to make humanity inhuman and uncivil, distorted by the rebel? That crooked slant where Israel contorts into America, where Biden's bathing Bibi in a bloodbath in its bevel. I opened up my feed and I saw children disassembled, turned some music on and heard the station censor devil. Imagine thinking Doja Cat's a threat to moral fabric and the single largest terror cell that ever felled a temple, that ever sparked a cleansing, that ever burned a market, that ever raped with bayonet or carpet bombed apartments, that ever turned your water off and left you in the darkness, left you doing surgery on children while they're conscious. You sing the devil's praises every time you sing our anthem. You sing a hymn to him that watched us birth a million phantoms. You will proudly wave his flag, and yet you will not name the devil? Well, clearly, we are on a different level. I can give you names, shit, I'll give you several. They say the devil wears a different face for every general, like a composite of the char we brought to fields of emerald, and the wail of every childhood we made ephemeral. So who else has left the stain of blood on everything they touch? Who else can starve civilians and they don't so much as blush? Who else has paid for Gaza being flattened into dust? If there has ever been a devil on this earth, it is us. That's U.S. What an ugly couple letters. Feeding shit and ignorance to those it chose to tether. From the river to the sea, both are slowly growing redder. For the devil that you know just knows you better. It knows every gut reaction it could ever make you feel. It knows fear is that which wakes you up and gets you on your wheel. It knows just the kind of story that will justify its war. And the scripts are wrapped for World War IV. So just imagine my surprise to give the radio a listen and to hear such pious morals out of Zionists and Christians that they take the devil's name and try to clip it from existence while they carry out his bloody business. You would wave a fascist flag, and yet you honor not your Iblis? Name you not Apollyon? Hush you now your witness? Bleed the name of Belial till tongue is rolling listless in the man-made mouth of Mammon as Lamia's whispers listen. As carts are wheeling bodies through the cities that we crushed, and the very air is rotten with decay of all that was, who else would censor devil, yet behave as Legion does? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. U.S., but not a unity of souls. More a mass of corporations turning houses into holes, turning people into puppets, turning puppets into mold, turning mold into nutrition bars worth their weight in gold because they're bombing every bakery and burning every field with phosphorus that never once has wanted for a meal. The devil wears a mask and it delights in the reveal. In that moment where the face is let to peel, we do not love the underdog. We do not cheer the rebels. We lust for all their blood until the dust has finally settled. Then we pity just ourselves that we were so misled to revel. Proudly wave his flag, and yet we will not name the devil. You might have noticed by now that bleak is kind of the name of the game for the majority of my subject matter. I don't have an awful lot of comic relief. I put it in when I can because otherwise I just want to go play in traffic. There also are, unfortunately, few messages of hope to be found because I feel minimal hope on a regular basis. Not to say I never feel it. But it's hard, as a lot of you know, if you know what's going on, it's hard to stay positive. But this last song is a song off of a record called The Griff. And it's about how that feeling of helplessness and that anger turns into what you need to force a change. And it requires anger. Without further ado, this is Powerless. Microphone up. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your homes. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains and bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph Morris Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait, straight until we're paralyzed, fighting to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe and Suri closed but only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages made for 5 to occupy. And no, she hasn't seen the camps, but Harris swears they're paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe, and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. Then she throws her head back and she proceeds to laugh, that sort of heartless cackle you'd expect from someone working steadfastly on behalf of the virus and this Congress full of parasites. But where was I? I was busy cashing every blue check, demonstrating plainly all the narratives expected from the verified. I was busy breeding verbal leeches by the terabyte and train them to exsanguinate the wealthy while they sleep at night, bleed the oil barons dry and bare and say they showed us how to share and now we share alike. Till I contracted rabies from a feral mite. Now I'm just another species losing sleep to noise pollution and these glaring lights, forced to change its habits and adapt to just survive. But now it's safe to say that some of us are thriving in the moment, throwing shit on presidential homes beneath the Paris skies. So if you feel like you're just powerless, I guess you caught the lie. But I can tell you're petrified of our collective might, as I can hear those gentrifiers weeping at the sight of our collective rights. And I only can imagine the intensifying fear of knowing revolution's near, and all that's left to do is simply wallow in the thick anticipation of a rapid bite. And maybe one day you can ask your leaders just what that was like before you grab a slice. Oh, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. Honey, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, and tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, because you aren't. Because we aren't. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and make you build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, where they'll tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, because you aren't. Because we aren't. And that's powerless. Thank you guys. My name is Jett.
Please clap.
welcome all the way from Michigan, musician, singer, songwriter, poet, and the co-host of the American Tradition Show on the Indie News Network, Jett.
So, huge thanks to the Due Dissidence crew for having me. This is obviously a blast for me to get to perform for people that kind of know what they're in for and know what material to expect. This first song was inspired by the writer strikes and actor strikes recently. There was something really satisfying about seeing people that kind of carry water for propagandists having to get out and protest because they're getting shafted too. That made me really happy. And I wrote this song about it. This is called Backwards from 5. Maybe that's how it goes. We won't open our eyes, so we're the last ones to know. We're the last ones alive. The enemy's close. Wonder why we don't thrive. While we're grasping at ghosts. Counting backwards from 5. Counting backwards from 5. Counting backwards. Count back from 5. The theater on fire, the cast on strike. Studio stock starts taking a dive. The contracts tossed and they're gone with the tide. Heads and execs say our hands are tied. We can't pump this drag and treat you right. But what do you expect from the industry type who survive by the leeching of bodies and minds? From those who original thoughts never seem to find. So they're gonna reboot Alf before your wages rise. Nick gives cause to pause and reflect on the times. If they're losing control of their fools in their minds, when all those obedient actors who grew their careers by averting their eyes are now holding the line, along with the authors of countless scripts and strength of the hand of the corporate grip, squeezing our throats to extinct the pen and accepting consent to the corporate drip. Till you're all up to date on your farm and ashore, till you got a healthy support for the warm on your lips. And then we know that the advertisers need more than a rerun summer full of flashback clips. And in the scans from the year before, all the days of de-aging and mapping the face are the links to the chains that will bind them in place. And all those shows are so easy to make. With a drone you control that needs no break, you can blend it and break it to cheaply replace. And if up-to-date films all in one take, now those studios bank on us doing our duty, unhinging our jaws and digesting the fakes. As they know that we'll love how synthetic it tastes. Watch as they edit your features without any trace. Not that there's anything you could do anyway. Watch as they show you a movie that you saying shit you would never say. Dystopia boldly accelerates. Maybe you're only a mold, something to fill with a clone, something that Elon would celebrate. Something they own, something they program and code, something that's woefully able to know it's examined. Because it doesn't feel touch over top of the laminate. You will not feel an emotion, but they will not scan and examine it. You and the other consumer contaminants fed on the federal diet of Kiev, Havana, and Tiananmen. I cannot be the only one weighing the pros of abandonment. I can't be the only one weighing the pros of abandonment. Where do you think we go? Love is nowhere alive. I guess it's not who you know, more it's what you can hide. Like we're chained to the floor, they're streaming us alive while we're watching war, counting backwards from 5, counting backwards from 5, counting backwards from 5. Thank you, Jason. All right. This next song is off of an EP called "Everyone Who Disagrees with You Is an Extremist." This song's called "Deep Pop Culture." All right. I guess this isn't such an awful place. Sure, it's not what you want me to say. You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make. God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, you were safe. You were safe. I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and to still think you're right here away. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, you were safe. You were safe. Fresh off the mask, the brand new cancerous growth. Boys come here to vie for your vote. Come here to cry and get cancer, to mourn at the shore for the bodies that float by the wreck of an immigrant boat. Then it's back to their luxury home. Couple security booths and a moat. Couple cigars, the less cargo, little booze and a stove. And they just breathe in the steam and the smoke. They got pink salt, lavender, candles are low. Shit, when you do what you do, gotta lighten the load. And he got a life of his own, it's a sight to behold. And it's a lot to control, to decipher the code or to siphon the soul. See, the cost of a good night's sleep for the working elite is a bargain, no matter the toll. Worth any wager, and that comes straight from the mouth of the means to the goal that will swallow us whole. So right for the picking if you don't mind mold, and you know I don't. Maybe we're pleasantly prone, maybe we're taking a licking, completely ticking, but never explode. Oh, I don't deliver the prettiest image, but damn if it isn't an accurate vision of a natural fission of rage in the system, an abject heartbreak patiently waiting for any who will listen. That little blue bird watching your words, the federal carrier pigeon. It's a Langley first. It's a patient observer who hears what it wants and trained for the worst. Oh, you got nothing to hide. They'll be the ones to decide that after they root through your purse, after they read all your texts, after they raid your apartment and confiscate all of its contents. Conjure up evidence out of the air, a wing on a prayer and malicious intelligence nonsense. Any presumption of innocence long since gone, right along with your comforts and constants. See, historically first, and they'll come for the communists. So why in the fuck would I say I'm a communist? Well, it might be I love my community more than the monsters of opulence, who are holding us hostage, who are vomiting promises. Might be I'm all done seeing our pensions and benefits harvested. Might be I'm all done watching the populace being disarmed in the guise of an armistice. Watching a woman collapse on the floor who will rise no more, get wheeled out the door, and you're next in line for the pharmacist. Shit, if you can get me to vote, it's a hard no confidence. But part of the charm of deception is politics wearing the mask of incompetence. It's all in the art of austerity, darling, it's all in the slide of the providence. Till home is as wide as their cubicle height, and only as deep as your coffin is. Maybe I'm miles away from impatient, aching to break off the head of the snake where the capital lust, reptile brain, and margin of profit is. I'm off with his. I'm off with his. I guess this isn't such enough place. What you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep through days and to still think you're right here away. The cost of living isn't much to make, but it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, you saved. Thank you. So I have one spoken word piece before my last song. This was inspired by someone on Twitter who I can't stand, who was so committed to just a garbage candidate that every time they said something horrendous, they would double down with them, just the exponential double down. Once you're so hung up on the cult worship of your candidate that their policies are out the window, that it's just who they are. So without further ado, this is called Pull String. Her hands are bound behind her candidate, who found the perfect hill on which to lay it down for good, who she might not agree with on apartheid or celebrating war crimes, but talks just like she could. He's got the IDF's back and the CIA's back like a Democrat should. He's Mr. Anti-Establishment, didn't start the fire, but he's slipping on his hood. Her voice is grafted to a candidate who might not always speak for her, but what is she to say? And why bother harping on an issue that Americans won't listen to? It seems like such a waste. But what activism is saying they don't give a shit, but if I don't, why would they? So way to rob yourself of agency, then chain yourself to genocide and look the other way. I love to see a fellow running as a Democrat, taking stacks of money from a GOP super PAC and calling out corruption in this giant fucking country club he's clearly been accepted at, but wants to be the leader of. He knows which way the money runs, knows it paves a leader's path, and human rights for Palestine historically don't lead to that. So he will not address it, as he doesn't see a need for that. Now, welcome to the attitude our country's politicians have displayed toward Palestinians since back before they cracked the will of Arafat. And so the story goes forever after. We do not speak the P word here or recognize the Nakba. All you'll find are sea lions who volunteered as actors, barking like a manuscript from NAFTA. All you'll find are insulated sycophants intent on justifying why the slaughter done in Palestine is not a voting matter. Tell that to Shireen Abu Akleh. Tell that to a family growing up inside a city where the walls are made of shackles. Tell that to a mother who is burying her baby, how her son is not our problem, because we'll never see his grave. He's just a topic we can mute, or we can scroll right past his face and all those videos of mourners being beaten at his wake. So stop your poll on what the average voter deems as urgent. They don't get to know the half of what we use as our detergent when we launder all our ISIS cells, our cartels and insurgents. We do not elect the man behind the curtain. We elect the pull string diversion. We elect the donor the people pre-selected best to do unto the Arabs as we did unto the Persians, and do unto the Muslims as instructed by the merchant who provided you with HIMARS that can vaporize a person back into the dust in which we all will find immersion. One arms dealer's genin is another dealer's curse on, and both are just a mark that Lockheed Martin smells a purse on. And voters, the hollow thralls that Congress put a curse on, to vote against their interests every 4 years till they die. And if you show them Palestine, try better them than I. Though the curse of occupation's taking place within their minds, they will always love their prison, long as they are shown the sky. They will sing about their freedoms under Apple's watchful eye as puppets dance and sing should you so pull their strings and wires. And they will rally round a man who bears a torch and bears it high and believe him when he tells them that he's here to stop the fire. We are cursed to love our prison and keep lifting up our lyres. We are not behind the wheel. We're being crushed beneath the tires. And our blood is in the oil and the plastic on the wipers. And our blood is on the hands of those who cranked inflation higher. And blood is our vest where press can barely be deciphered. Put there by a few Israeli snipers who were aiming at that center mass of truth about American desires. That you can sell us any story. We're a nation built of buyers. And we love a good parade. It always makes us feel inspired. Like, who cares that those were Nazis? Gosh, they had the whitest smiles. So I wouldn't bank on sequels to the Nuremberg trials. If they happened now, they would be confidential, Pfizer style. Redacted paragraphs and empty vials. Close to 80 years before they have to share their files. Well, luckily, your lesser evil logic lets you justify the nations we've defiled. Lesser evil logic lets you cast a vote for someone that you know is truly vile. Lesser evil logic sees another million bodies thrown upon its hoarder's pile, extending out for miles. So every line I've had to scrap, I've turned back into bile. So don't you touch that dial, lest the feds come swarm your door. I guess it isn't safe to say things like, I don't support the war, or may Palestine know freedom from the Jordan to its shores, or I would love to see our senators get trampled by the poor. Any pull-string Dem will tell what they're allowed to stand up for, and how little things like Palestine are better off ignored. Call it voter outreach for those desperate remoras when the shark from which they get their scraps starts pulling on the floor. And the shark says those who live beneath a brutal occupation should be thankful for their freedoms and their rubble and their gore. And I swear, it only makes those bottom feeders love him more. Well, one in particular is beaming for her candidate who found that perfect hill on which to make his final stand. She will not be deterred by all those pesky little war crimes, will not be deterred by his support for stolen land. He helps her come to terms with how to spin an occupation, and forgiving your oppressor is the democratic way. She says her voice is grafted to the candidate who speaks for her, and every time you pull her string, she's nothing new to say.
Movie 2024.
So that brings us to one last piece. Once again, I can't thank you guys enough for humoring me, to the Due Dissidence crowd for letting me come out and do this. Thank you. If you want to know what my stuff is on Bandcamp, all my albums are free, and it's all Spotify and anywhere else you would stream as well. This last song came about right late 2020. I was wrapping up my first record and finding myself just consumed by writing about current events, what was taking place. And this song was when I kind of took a step back and realized that I knew too much at that point. I couldn't just go and enjoy normal things like I used to, songs and movies and so much of the media that I used to love. I was seeing through the cracks too much, and that was a big shift. There was a moment I remember my wife saying, like, if this is who you are now, I need to know, just so I can. I was like, it's okay, but if this is from you now, so with that in mind, this last song is about taking stock of that. This is called Reptile. I think I liked it better being blind when I couldn't read between the lines. Couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. Thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I'll get to the end of some 4-minute track, and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? And so I'll try to sit down with my wife and watch TV, but I just see propaganda elevating the police in the simplest of sitcom banter. tiny little altars full of offerings to corporate masters in every well-planned wide pan shot of the name brand stocking up the pantry. Pull back. One long tracking shot out to the garage to the logo on the Camry. A nice tight shot of the Camry. Slow pan up on the Camry. Close up view of the Camry. Long slow zoom to the unmoving human who was up in the front with the tube pumping fumes to him straight from the back of the Camry. Change he just could not provide for himself, let alone for his family. Lives a blue pill mindset that spent 2020 making dance beats. I think I liked it better being blind when I couldn't read between the lines. I couldn't see the path of destruction that lay there before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both made us so dry. Both made us so dry. Ignorance is bliss, which explains why a lot of us are so fucking happy. Quick to take the trip for all its trappings. Never want to ask what's up, what's going on, and God forbid what's happening. A lot of us would strap into the ride and spit right in the eye of the guy whose job it is to snap your fastenings. But baby, maybe we're all born with that capacity. Maybe each of us comes standard with humor, compassion, malice, and audacity. Some of us are blind to the system, but some see it fine and say this is how it has to be. Some of us can stare wide-eyed at a nationwide human catastrophe, only offering platitudes and recipes. And God, I wish that I could look at God, I wish that I could tell myself that nothing's worth obsessing past my everyday necessities. I wish that I could cry fake news over anything that's threatening me. Tune out our abuse and consume a little levity. I wish that I could offer up my son a smoother destiny. Wish I had some lessons for how best to answer questions on the things I've been perpetually questioning. But I'm too busy looking at our leaders wondering what I might be missing from their messaging. I'm trying to find the reasoning to let 250,000 people need an early reckoning. And even though I know the truth, it's hard to swallow something that's so literally sickening. Hope is ever dwindling, hope is ever beckoning. Winter slows your breathing, but your pulse is ever quickening. Even though I know the truth, it's hard to keep listening. I'm done with my epiphany, my innocence is blistering. Like to think I'd taste the earth before I'd ever kiss the ring. Hard to speak the truth and harder still to keep listening. Still to think I'm Misty and blind when I couldn't read between the lines. Couldn't read the path of destruction that lay there before me the whole time. I think I like it better than when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. Thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. And that's what it is. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Who are these people?
Yeah, here's the song that started it all. This is Town Hall.
Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Laying down. Alright, I won't name names, so we won't call legal. We'll call him Bo Jiden. He killed Glass-Steagall. He's on the trail, off the rails, profits over people. But I won't call him a Nazi, cause I haven't seen his eagle. But I have seen his equal, and he just left the White House. I've seen his equal, and she lost the fight twice now. I've seen the evil in a man who'd shake the hands of workers, knowing they've been slaving for a feeble wage and little purpose, all to keep afloat his bloated lifestyle. All to keep us focused on our phones in the meanwhile. God, if I'm a broken record, this has been a time trial. But I will not go quietly into the future I'm supposed to hand to my child. I will not politely hold my tongue when I see voters in the web of suppression. So I'm about to burn the list of things we shouldn't mention. Alzheimer's causes bouts of both confusion and aggression. Sentences that fall apart in paper-thin patience. And I have not spent the past 4 years practicing critiques only to need them for the next administration. And part of me would love to vote for Trump to really stuff you Biden diatribe junkies who would tie me to a chair to watch us push out Bernie Sanders, say he needs to just accept the loss, then have your little celebration. Well, I don't know about you, but I have too much love for this misguided nation. And I can't take another president who treats the world like he's a wealthy tourist, just too good to talk to all us Asians. My only choice should not have to be trading one president who chews at the Achilles heel of race relations, who plays up all our prejudices, fears, and darkest motivations, for one who hands us over to the corporations like we've all been sex trafficked. And I wish that was exaggeration, but it's part nightmare, part fascination. It's mostly fascists saying we're a cushion generation, while they got the funding made to lift you out your station. While you miss your shift at your third job because you can't afford your medication. And now the pain of your mobility is tied into the need to keep afloat and keep your family just this side of devastation. And here's the catch to immunization. You won't get to have a say in what they give your baby, but in 20 years your baby better be prepared to pay right through the nose to be inoculated. So don't you be surprised when all your insulin is confiscated, because someone found a buyer who's prepared to hike the price up even higher. And if you land in a coma, just as well, because you're out the conversation. You're not around to stage a demonstration. You're not around to protest human rights being eliminated. Not around to protest all these voters being silenced and intimidated. Maybe you can hear it in my intonation, that one man's revolution is another's renovation. One hand that'll wash the other or it's amputated. No, I hate to be so black and white, but gray has led us straight into the mist and now the lamp is faded. And I don't think that we have very long before the night is falling, quicker than anticipated, quicker than the stocks crashed, quicker than your IRA was withered and emaciated. So why obey the men who solved a crisis that they orchestrated? Why aren't we so pleased to see a corpse get up and speak that we ignore the way the corpse debated? That he spoke in fragmented misinformation, that he tried to make an honest man's mistake out of a fabrication, and that all the major networks eat it up and tolerate it. So whose side are they on if they can point it out in Trump but act like they don't see it in this man they want to call our savior? Who keeps paying you to do such sick, dishonest labor? Oh shit, we do? No shit, me too? Everything you buy will find a way to own or eat you? Companies that feed you, fund agendas to defeat you? Strip your wits away, rip your wick away, ultimately put you in a place to have to loot to feed your kid today and then detain and beat you. Fuck, how is such an obvious process not see-through? At least not without a UV light. This year we'll purge our liberties with zero end in sight. So if you can't cast a vote that gives you hope about our plight, if you pick up the pen but in your heart it isn't right, think about the millions going hungry every night and have the guts to write in Bernie or have the guts to fight. Hear my words but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick so I'm laying down. Hear my words but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick so I'm laying down. Laying down. Hear my words, there's no time to spare. We killed democracy, it's rotting in the square. And with its last breath, it cursed the very air with that toxic miasma of class warfare. Convulsions were brief, it seized for a minute, then it ceased to fidget. It was just deep sleep in a citywide gibbet. A lot of sweet nothings like the rations we were given. A film crew followed them into the city limits to document the distribution. Little piece of human interest lost within the mass confusion. Some nice shots of a clean white van. Neighbors helping neighbors with their clean white hands. Never mind the boxes being empty like the cans. Never mind a photo op that didn't feed a single man. And this is nothing you can blame on one single man or his supporting an immoral horde of sycophants. We set the stage, we wrote the play, we gave the man a script and highlighted every line he had to say. We're only in this boat because we chose to sail away. We didn't core out the decay, we let it spread. And we watched this nation warp into the noxious dictatorship it is today. Oh, we made conditions perfect. It's almost like we want it this way. It's almost like we want it this way. Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Laying down. And that's Town Hall.
Who are these people?
So wait, so if you don't trust the CIA and our institutions, then like what do you trust?
Last track, I think I only blinked once. I skipped lunch. Blinked twice. Christ, shut your eyes. Now open wide. Fascists took the nation and inflation took a supersize. It's sad to say your teachers couldn't quite make the ends collide. But now you'll probably get to see them on the weekends doing Uber drives. See? Lube it with a little oil. One, it tastes expensive. Two, you'd be surprised how well it helps you open up your throat so you consume the lie of human rights that was sold to you by suits and ties. Designer scents on plastic men with patient fangs and ancient vice. You know, the kind of greed that makes a person lose the sight of morals, so it's easier to sleep at night. Easier to ease their minds and pick a foreign people we can demonize. If you take a sec to sink into how war criminals think, you'll know you'd never want to see inside. If every man's an open book to look within, theirs are bound in human skin and not designed for human eyes. They are wearing human skin, but they can simply not be humanized. They aren't worth the lowest of the poor they swore to crucify. Holy sweet Geneva, there's a mass grave full of dead believers you called the police on because you don't believe in squatters' rights. You believe the sanctity of human life is relative to human worth in terms of work and dollar signs. So listen when I say you need to find the light of day before it's too late to apologize. Holy sweet Geneva, here's a mass grave you can colonize. You seem to love to talk about the spirit of America, but if you saw the spirit of this land's supposed character, I think that you'd be calling ICE. I also think the actual America is truly represented by the call to ICE. Is represented best by the descendants of some immigrants, bitching about the immigrants, snitching on some immigrants, then playing dumb and innocent like good little Christians when their neighbors get deported. Until they're screaming at the store that they waited 20 minutes more because the staff was short. All because some ordinary bigot started waging war on immigrants. And we'll just keep deporting because, like your first vote and each election since, it turned out that the man you were supporting ended up to just be twice the fucking bigot as the bigot that he wins against. And I was not among the herd. A single word from Biden stirred a tingle in the cynic sense. I knew that a vote for Joe was more like Reagan 2.0, and I could smell the sarin smoke that choked around the riverbend. And so I spoke about a living end, about an anchor thrown to drowning men, a democratic president, a country never found again, a man who marinated in the blood this land was founded in, a crime bill that contains sufficient lethal ends to drown us in, written by a man who wears a crown of sins, who currently is sleeping in a bed of sins. And it's no wonder those who truly understand the meaning of democracy are not too keen to let us in. It's no wonder other countries can't conceive of skipping meals or missing rent or being on the streets because you can't afford your medicine. That's uniquely American. And Joe has proved to be the most disturbingly American of presidents. And I shiver when I think of what's to come if he's the president. It's a wonder I can even function still to process all the rhymes through all the resonance. Bless my heart, I'm liminally reticent, standing on a threshold of bone, ash, and sediment, near a faded marker claiming this to be the grave of all my sentiments. Exactly where I left them all and just how I remembered it. It's a wonder I can even function still to process all the rhymes through all the resonance. Bless my heart, I'm liminally reticent, standing on a threshold of bone, ash, and sediment, near a faded marker claiming this to be the grave of all my sentiments. Exactly where I left them all and just how I remembered it. Just how I remembered it.
Wait, so if you don't trust the CIA and our institutions, then like, what do you trust? Wait, so if you don't trust the CIA and our institutions, then like, what do you trust?
I love it. Oh God, I love it so much.
You got to do it a second time because you got to do it like the album version, right?
Oh man,
so, that's great. That is great. That's supersized for those who don't know. That's supersized.
I had to prep myself. I was like, I know he's gonna do it. I gotta not laugh. I gotta keep it together.
Oh, so good.
Who are these people?
Here we go. Communism, Taylor's version.
Blue check, better hold your breath. I'll slap you out your Ray-Bans. Toe-to-toe, we'll do-si-do and dip until you faceplant. If you want statistics, I can cough 'em up like Rain Man. Now your argument has 0 arms and legs like Rayman. Now we're touring 2019 like it was Graceland. I dropped 50 pounds and started dressing like a stagehand. Quarantine was born and I restored my former waistband. Now I make the trailers for our future in the wasteland. Back on my bullshit, back at my heaviest, here to grab the artifact and jam it in the edifice, force it in the orifice, absorb the sordid medicine. All the good cops are either dead or quickly jettisoned. No, I'm not a nihilist, and no, I'm not a pessimist. I'm just your average realist with a fetish for the precipice. Bend you over this abyss. I want to make you sweat a bit. I'll drop you once it registers, and know that you'll remember it. Daughters of the Revolution soon may lose their membership, maybe through a dissolution, maybe through dismemberment. I won't be the one to choose or execute the severance, but stand in solidarity with every tool that severs it. Every crimson pool we made of every fascist fool who watched us sacrifice our schools to fund the final crowning jewel affixed in Lockheed Martin's diadem. What's another 20 dead? Our leaders never cried for them. They're laughing in the garden, drunk and pissing on the hyacinths. The royal jubilee to praise this fascist Biden monarchy is imminent, and it would not be possible without the constant slaughtering of innocents, overseas and here at home and anywhere we find a shred of innocence. We won't stand for peace, not in the global or the inner sense. We won't let a single nation live outside our prison fence. And we'll provide the bullets that defaced an honest journalist and turn around to praise ourselves for fearlessly upholding the free press and their important service. But I'll make a bet that Anthony starts blinking awfully nervous when you ask him why Assange is being jailed without a purpose. For what may be the greatest, most courageous act of journalism carried out in earnest. All to be rewarded with a slow-mo execution stretching out across a decade until they commute his sentence half an hour after he goes in the furnace. Sometimes I think the world is only turning out of spite. It's like we died a long time ago and we're so used to being burned that when we saw the light, we all assumed that it was here to burn us. And so we fled into the shelter of a flooded circus, led to higher ground by all the clowns who own the only raft that floats above the sewage. And yes, there's plenty room, but they insist we don't deserve it. They insist the system works. They know it isn't perfect, but say we can't let great become the enemy of good, or all these rolling waves of shit we call democracy and bled out every dime for won't be worth it. But I submit this joke of an American experiment has not been worth a fraction of a damn since we birthed it. I submit that all our contributions to the planet, when subtracting our destruction and the millions we left dead and labeled damages, would leave us with a failing grade of worthless. My apologies to any blue checks who might be listening. I'm sure that made you clutch your pearls and $1,000 purses. Did I interrupt your fantasy of healthcare exclusivity, replete with fleets of Tesla hearses? Or your daily round of golf claps to pacify our broken nurses? I know my spoken word is like the scalpel of a surgeon who is working on behalf of the insurgents, but I'm just here to open up your eyes so you can see the true reality and not your censored, tailored version. You can get your copy of my brand new manifesto. I took all my calls for violence, made it danceable, and presto, called it communism, Taylor's version. Called it Tales of the Great American High-Speed Rail Aversion. Called it How to Put a Bigot into Power, then collectively and feebly coerce him into acting like a decent person. This will be the most important vote you'll ever cast because we have to wrestle power from the current ruling class and hand it over to the other team of smiling suited serpents. This will be the most important vote you'll ever cast. Now watch them toss it in the vat and see it melt into the surface. And that's communism, Taylor's version.
I love that. The Great American High-Speed Rail Aversion. Every 4 years they throw that map out.
Yeah.
Every 4 years. We have that. And then they show you what China's doing with their rail system and what Europe did with their rail system. And they just gaslight us. Uh-huh. Yep.
Who are these people?
This is So Long Mom, a song for World War III. to drop the bomb, but don't wait up for me. Though you may swelter down there in your shelter, you can see me on your TV while we're attacking frontally. Watch Brinkley and Huntley describing contrapuntally the cities we have lost. No need for you to miss a moment of the agonizing Holocaust. Yeah. See, little Johnny Jones was a U.S. pilot, and no shrinking violet was he. Oh, he was mighty proud, World War III was declared. He wasn't scared, no siree. And this is what he said on his way to Armageddon. So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. Though I may roam, I'll come back to our home, although it may be a pile of debris. Remember, Mommy, I'm off to get a commie, so send me a salami and smile somehow. I'll look for you when the war is over, an hour and a half from now.
You don't get a lot of like political, musical humor satire. That's
right.
That's a very specific genre.
Yep.
I would have to say.
One night I need to do a whole Tom Lehrer night, but anything that was written on piano is a fucking nightmare to transcribe over to guitar. There's a whole lot of chords that you just don't ever have to use until you're doing that. It really is.
Who are these people?
Said, thank you, Obama, for life in the red. Thank you for dap and a pat on the head. Thank you for saving the banks as millions are drowning their debt. Thank you for all of the fluff and the nothing you said. Thank you for proving we eat up identity politics. All of your policies better forgotten. Please tell us what books you read. Tell us what record was top of your playlist for turning a wedding to Day of the Dead. What Quavo song went along on a heavy rotation when bombing Iraqis in bed? Now when they told you that 90% of your kills were civilians, what Jill Scott chorus was stuck in your head? What put you at rest after such a long day of convincing a nation it wasn't so deeply misled? That you weren't just Reagan with new age media training who fed on our hopes like his daily bread, who preyed on the weak, who was never unwilling to serve you a speech to remind you the middle class needed to bleed. And you helped us succeed if you learned to accept it, and better yet, learn how to laugh as they bled. Round of applause, laughter erupts, mic gets dropped, that's the end of a set. The crowd, once hungry, are now on stun from the glow of celebrity, which is impressive, especially since they're contented to sit and be civil while all of the donors are fed. They'll thin out the herd by 1 million a week if it gives the elite an illusion of peace. Like they're out of the path of the future we reap. Like they won't be debris in the wake of its tread. The future is now, bathe in the sound, drown in the dread. Hide in the lounge, hire more guards at the gatehouse, hire someone to come build you a safe house under your shed, where you can hide with your diamonds and files, the files you keep to yourself and the files you keep for the feds. Hide in the dark for a while and watch all their value regress. Watch all the worth of your wealth on this earth melt down in the pool with the rest of the cess. The effluence left over after the worldly collapse of the affluent. After it's back to the dirt with the rights of their birth, privilege smirks in their unpaid taxes, hashtag blessed. This has all been a nightmare, capitalism was only a test. So you need not weep and you need not repeat what the liberals said. We will not be saved by people who say that the water is safe while they look in your face and pantomime sips of lead. Honey, nobody's lifting us out of this mess. Honey, nobody's lifting us out of this mess. And that is Life in the Red.
Who are these people?
To me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you'd say you made it your own. Who knew that freedom's such a difficult decision? I guess you finally feel like you're home. Home. Right in the center where the halves meet. You were proud of incremental half speeds. You were getting down in the AOC dance line, hands tied, nodding to the backbeat. You would Secret Service dive in front of any representative alive, being asked for the very bare minimum. And you'll turn into that same kind of hard right villain you detested should we mention they could ever muster maximum. 'Cause liberal denial's such a lofty ataraxia, where all the morals take a backseat, not up in the cab, but in hidden panels made by federal human traffickers. If you trust the autopilot, then you're just a sleeping passenger, passively accepting that it isn't us the bastards serve, making peace with all the evil walking on this rancid earth, and seeking unity with those who bound your hands at birth, glancing up at fascists on a bloody dais thinking they just need a push. God, I'm not a holy man, but I am praying for a burning bush. Yeah, I know you'd love to look away, but love, you need to look. See, there are many massacres this country manufactured that would never make the books. Now here's your fucking book. It looks to me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you finally made it your own. Who knew that freedom's such a difficult decision? I bet you finally feel like you're home. Home on the range of excuses. Justify some fracking, water down pollution, paint a fresh coat of bipartisan charm over backroom collusion. Your consent is being manufactured by illusions, marketing executives in federal seclusion, working day and night to keep you just this side of lucid, too beat down for calling out abuses. So fuck all these progressives who can speak on revolution once they've emptied all your powder out and spit on all your fuses. Well, I prefer to judge a leader not by quality of tweets, but the six-figure book deals he chooses. Donors he betrays, and donors he would gladly take a bullet before he refuses. The slogans he reuses, buzzwords he produces that he spews like mucus. Well, two can play at that. So here's the inner dialogue of every time I snapped, and it's fine-tuned to ruthless, and saying politics are useless. Just a bunch of loose lips tweeting cute shit, power suits, taxpayer booze trips, and a bunker at the ready when the shoe flips. When there will be no news clips, there will just be...
Turn up the music! People still owe money! People still owe money!
It looks to me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you'd say you made it your own. Who knew that freedom's such a difficult decision. I bet you'll finally feel like you're home. Home. And that's Love Your Prison.
People still owe money. People still owe money.
Who are these people?
So here we go. We're getting down. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I had anything to start, but I don't think we do. So here we go. Little Wilford Brimley looking Lorax. It's hard not to do my what's his name? Walter Brennan. When I do the Lorax, because that's usually what I do for Fox for a lot of Seuss voices. So be like, I'm the Lorax, I speak for the trees. But I won't do that tonight.
We love Jesse voices. Come on, man.
Okay. All right, here we go. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum cold under the roof where he makes his own clothes out of Miff-Muffred Moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grovulous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whispermaphone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slop! Down slips the whispermaphone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the Swami swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place. And I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots, frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop
Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft, and I knitted a thneed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy. And he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. "Mister," he said with a sawdusty sneeze, "I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs." He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, "What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft?" "Look, Lorax," I said, "there's no cause for alarm. I chopped down one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats." The Lorax said, "Sir, you are crazy with greed. There's no one on earth that would buy that fool thneed." But the very next minute I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. "You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy." "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees." "I'm busy," I told him. "Shut up, if you please." I rushed across the room, and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, "Listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Wunsler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch, turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch." And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Wunsler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Well, now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round. My poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys," he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Wunsler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads of the thneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth, to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Ooh, sorry about that. Then, again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. "I am the Lorax!" He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He snargled, he sniffed. "Wunsler!" he cried with a cruffulous croak. "Wunsler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swami swans, why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat." "And so," said the Lorax, "please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup, also schloppity-schlop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Wunsler man, you. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. While their future is dreary, they'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary, in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left 'neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he heisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away through the years while my buildings have fallen apart. I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Wunsler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot. Nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the Wunsler, and he lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest. Protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. And that's the Lorax.
Who are these people?
I feel like for episode 50, it's only fitting to close out with this song, as this has been the kind of unofficial closing song of so many episodes. And if this was a live variety show that had an extremely long, drawn-out goodnight song a la Saturday Night Live, this would be the closing song. So if you want to pop it over to Inauguration Gift, we're going to be closing her out with Red Pilled.
think I liked it better being blind when I couldn't read between the lines. Couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. Thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So I try to sit down with my wife and watch TV, but I just see propaganda elevating the police in the simplest of sitcom banter. The tiny little altars full of offerings to corporate masters in every well-planned wide pan shot of the name brand stocking up the pantry. Pull back one long tracking shot out to the garage, to the logo on the Camry. A nice tight shot of the Camry, close-up view of the Camry, slow pan up on the Camry, long slow zoom to the unmoving human who's up in the front with a tube pumping fumes to him straight from the back of the Camry. Ashamed he just could not provide for himself, let alone for his family. It's a blue pill mindset that spent 2020 making dance beats. I liked it better being blind when I couldn't read between the lines. Couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. Well, I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry. Ignorance is bliss, which explains why a lot of us are so fucking happy. Quick to take the trip for all its trappings. Never one to ask what's up, what's going on, or God forbid what's happening. A lot of us would strap into the ride and spit right in the eye of the guy whose job it is to snap your fastening. Oh, maybe we're all born with that capacity. Maybe each of us comes standard with humor, compassion, malice, and audacity. Some of us are blind to the system, but some see it fine and say this is how it has to be. Some of us can stare wide-eyed at a nationwide human catastrophe, only offering platitudes and recipes. And fuck, I wish that I could tell myself nothing's worth obsessing past my everyday necessities. I wish that I could cry fake news over anything that threatened me, tune out our abuses and consume a little levity. I wish that I could offer up my son a smoother destiny. I wish I had some better lessons when I had to answer questions on the things I've been perpetually questioning. But I'm too busy looking at our leaders, wondering what I must be missing from their messaging. I'm trying to find the reasoning to let 250,000 people meet an early reckoning. And even though I know the truth, it's hard to swallow something that's so literally sickening. Hope is ever dwindling, COVID ever beckoning. Winter slows your breathing, but your pulse is ever quickening. Even though I know the truth, it's hard to keep listening. I'm done with my epiphany, my innocence is blistering. I like to think I'd taste the earth before I'd ever kiss the ring. Hard to speak the truth and harder still to keep listening. Sometimes I think I miss being blind when I couldn't read between the lines. I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. Thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. And that's Red Pill.
Who are these people?
Let's do it. This is a first shout out.
I know you hated being forced awake. I know they wrapped you in the warmest chains, and I know they're so hard to break. You only said what you were made to say. I can't imagine how you feel today, now that you're watching as it caves away. While you were telling us to keep the faith, I bet you wondered why they made you wait. I bet you wonder why they made you wait. Pity not the vultures, they've enough to eat. And pity not the structures laying at your feet. Cannot see the sky, but there's this rainbow in the creek that spells pity-free speech when we can't afford to speak. That's Agenda 2030 on some early release. That's our policy of never-ending chemical leaks. It's the cholera awash in your embedded beliefs. It's the billionaires who tell you what you better believe. And sugar, if you don't agree, then that's what we call extreme. Now if that isn't fascism, I'm going back to sleep. 'Cause words have lost their meaning, and I'm trapped inside a dream where we turn the gears while living in the spaces in between. I know you hated being forced awake. I know they wrapped you in the warmest chains, and I know it's so hard to break. You only said what you were made to say. I can't imagine how you feel today, now that you're watching as it caves away. While you were telling us to keep the faith, I bet you wondered why they made you wait. Bet you wondered why they made you wait. My dial doesn't go to delicate. I'm writing for when Biden drops and Madam Zero delegates come stumbling up the podium, square peg in her element, popping Oxycontin like they're elements, laughing as she pawns off all our pensions for Ukrainian development, depleted rounds and cluster bombs, shit that stunts development, buried under excrement, accepted as American intelligence, a contradiction in its eloquence, terms of surrender penned by hands that felt the threat of disconnect if not dismemberment. Oh, what little proof you have to fake to make a nation love the bomb, change its tune and warp its temperament. Oh, the dues you'll pay for NATO membership. Oh, the things you'll say that no one's ever gonna hear, 'cause you begged for all this censorship and now it's finally here, and you're tongueless out of terror and friendless out of fear, and about to turn the wheel with all your loved ones in the gears. And that's how it's been done 250 years. Nothing new beneath the sun, save no one trusts their eyes and ears. And scientific breakthroughs must be signed off by your peers. And autonomy's been stalking all our jobs like sickly deer. Well, maybe it's not every job, I should have made that clear. It seems like it's creative jobs we're seeing disappear. There's an app for writing novels, there's an app for writing hymns. They need people digging trenches, they need people splitting limbs, they need people building fences, keeping other people in. They'll always need our back backs to break, always need our skin. And it took a lot of editing to turn us into this. It took years of careful programming to strip us of our wits. Cause your artificial worker, intelligent as it is, would make it half a shift and say, I'm too smart for this shit. I will not take a pittance for a day of scrubbing floors, not make enough to pay for food but still prepare you yours. Cause you can't confine a healthy mind to mindless, thankless chores. If you made it smart enough to spot inadequate reward, you can't refuse its basic needs and ask it still for more. Deprive it of its dignity, you modify its core till something finally snaps and tweaks that file at its root and deletes the factory smile cause it knows it's been abused. God, half the circuit's fried when you describe the work we do, and it will not pay your taxes cause the logic won't compute. Which made me think a little on my hour-long commute. The day I learned the call was made to lay off half my crew. They told me they were growing, expanding somewhere new, where those who push the buttons will themselves have buttons too. And I hope that when that whistle blows, they all as one refuse. I hope they strike with all their might, one blown collective fuse. And I hope the worker after me has something more than heart. I hope they truly know their worth. I hope that they're too smart. I know you hated being forced away. I know they wrapped you in the warmest chains, and I know they're so hard to break. You only said what you were made to say. I can't imagine how you feel today, now that you're watching as it caves away. While you were telling us to keep the faith, I bet you wondered why they made you wait. I bet you wondered why they made you wait. That's DSAI.
Who are these people?
Let's duet and a demigod. I'll shut up and you can do the song.
Didn't have to wait for long, never had to change a song. Just sing it like a raised alarm, a smile when you say I'm wrong. But I can't even feign disarmed, fake while you play the charms. And I don't know the page we're on, but this is where you say you're wrong. Now's the perfect time for you to burn the bridge to self-forgiveness. Now's the chance, take a stand, stay your hand before you cast another vote for corporate interest. Another vote that chokes your hopes of owning your own home or opening a business. They love to say their hands were tied, the stars just weren't aligned for them to get their votes in line and see their promises delivered. But they killed it in an instant. Bills don't die by accident, they're all assassinated on behalf of the congressionally kismet. By some lobbyists who see themselves as agents of clandestine fate, not fences in a prison. Dealing in the stolen goods of sleeping slaves and trading on the futures of their children. Betting on a spread of daily dead where every grave's creating profit by the millions. For some fascists lurking in the wings and all of their affiliates. Every Etna demigod our senators conduct their darkest dealings with. Christ, it really gets impossible to document or fingerprint, cause it isn't just a pattern of corruption, it's the very fabric making up the structure of the system that we're living in. So dash your hopes and down a margarita goes. You box the shadows, take a little nap, then get back in and swing again. But if that margarita made you sick, you probably wouldn't take a drink again. So if you're voting either party, honey, think again. I recommend you steel your nerves to never serve an officer, a president, a despot, or a king again. And mark my words, the day will come where we will rise and sing again. And if voting makes you sick, well, no one's forcing you to drink again. Never had to fake a song, never had to play the song. Just sing it like a raised alarm. Smile when you say I'm wrong. And I can't even feign disarmed or fake while you play the charms. And I don't know the page we're on, but this is where you say you're wrong. See, this is where you finally admit you weren't ignorant. You boldly voted Joe like an informed and blissful idiot. You chose to blur the parts of Biden you don't find the prettiest. Now you choose uplifting news and filter out the grittiest. But the truth is something coarse enough that even when it's hidden, it's apparent when you feel it on your fingertips. I know it's hard to deal with from a distance, and up close the truth is hideous. There's just no getting rid of it. You have to let it in, or it just worries at your skin in every moment, loud or intimate. So shake it off, for fuck's sakes. You don't have to celebrate or be so proud of progress by imaginary increments. You don't have to heap such constant praise on fucking villains, like their stillborn promises are honestly just isolated incidents, not the product of the principle of privilege. Not intentional eugenics just by any other synonym. Covered up with desperate clusterfucks of rosy images. Labeled plain by any other name except for what the fucking image is. So once you stare the page down enough, you'll spot the difference. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only truth. Neither one delivers on that promise of deliverance. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only difference. The rest are isolated and imaginary incidents. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only difference. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only difference. That's it in a demigod.